Hello, all. Welcome to this week's edition of the Automated Advantage. This week we have a very interesting guest who's got a lot of perspectives on the AI space. Our podcast is aimed at business leaders and getting perspectives on their business growth, their starting out, and then some sage advice for some new business owners. We're talking to Laurie Kirkland today from DeepHumanX, and it's got a very interesting perspective on the AI space. So I hope you all enjoy this. It's a great episode. Thank you. Well, good morning, Laurie. Thanks for joining us today. Could you give us just an introduction of you and a little bit about your company?
Sure, Greg. Thanks for having me on today. My name is Laurie Kirkland. I am the Chief Experience Officer at DeepHumanX, where we wake up every day and we are trying to figure out how do we use the change AI is bringing to better serve humanity in the workplace. So we're often training people on AI, doing a lot of leadership thinking shifts, and really just trying to help humans move along with the speed of technology.
I think as we well know at this point in time, this is very, very key. So take me through. So how long have you been in business, and then take me through the your journey that says, okay, I used to do this, and then I started doing this, and then I saw this market that said I should be doing this.
Sure. So we have been in business a little under 2 years, and we were created because I actually worked at a Fortune 500 for 5 years. Before that, was doing consulting for about 15, 20 years, where most of the time it was always within growth organizations, so organizations that were looking to grow, but really across every industry because I've been in tech for 25 years. So understanding the technology and then really seeing kind of the build since 2015 of how changes were coming. When I was at my prior organization, I looked for a lot for consultants and companies that could help really shift the people side so that we could start merging business and technology into more than just agile processes, into flowing together and thinking and right dreaming together for inventions. And I wasn't able to find that. So at DeepHumanX, what we did is we decided we are going to focus on how do we make change easier for people so that we can move systems of people along with technology changes. And that really is because over my 25 years in technology, I've implemented very, very cutting edge things. I've implemented very complex systems, but the success of the technology implementations really often lies at least 50%, if not 60 to 70, on how do you actually get buy-in from the people who are using it? How do you actually design for them? But then how are you giving space for that change to happen? And I'll just be honest with you, there hasn't been a lot of that, right? People very much look at technology as part of a process space. And so at DeepHumanX, we're really working on the mindset shift, the leadership change, the individual changes to make change much easier and much safer so that organizations can change quickly versus just changing technology and implementing solutions that really highlight their dysfunction more than actually solve the problems that they were initially intending to.
That's a really interesting point because I had a customer. There was a bank, and they basically said to their company, any employee said, you need to embrace AI, otherwise your job is in jeopardy. And literally that's where it stopped. So
Yep.
it's like, okay, well, what, how, when, where, and in what department? That wasn't relevant. It was like, you just need to do it. So it sounds like you guys are solving a little bit of that problem, is like where you've got this concept. Everybody needs to have it checked off, but it also needs to work, right? Am I accurate in that?
Well, you nailed it with the word relevant. We actually call we use a brain based model, so we have strong neuroscience backgrounds. They're very tight in research and scientific communities as well as the business communities and tech. So we're looking at all of that. And one of the things we realized is we created a relevance model because in changing times, you need to lead differently. And while I applaud those leaders who are like, hey, go learn AI, oftentimes those leaders themselves haven't really embraced it. And the truth is any change moves at the speed of safety or the speed of trust, right? And if leaders aren't creating um, some that we're trying to grow to something bigger, including themselves, then it feels very untrustworthy. It doesn't feel safe. And I will share with you, I don't know if this will help or not, but I see kind of three buckets of fear. The people who are, they get the directive from the organization. They're like, go learn. Let's say maybe probably 25% uh, are like, yep, I'm on it. I'm already using it. It's great. There are many of those people who are figuring out that their leaders don't know AI and they're working, 4 to 10 hours a week. And the way I look at it is like, well, you go at it until your leaders actually start shifting what your requirements are. The next bucket of fear that I really see and that we try to help dissolve is around people who are like, okay, I like the idea. I'm usually an early adopter or I'm not afraid of it, but I really don't know what it means for me. Those people are kind of left out in the open when an organization says, hey, go do this, but they're not focusing on upskilling. They're not giving larger, realigning with what the organization mission and goals are. They're not thinking about, wait a minute, what do we value as a company so I can tell my employees this. And until that happens, most employees are like, yeah, whatever. And then the last bucket, which is probably my favorite to work with, are the people who are like, no way, AI is coming for my job and that's it. Those people, when they actually realize how much a lot of AI, there's a lot of simple ways that AI can help with just the mundane tasks, the tedious tasks, the stuff, the administrative tasks that honestly cause a lot of pain for people. Once they see how quickly that they can actually solve a problem for themselves, they often shift the fastest, which is really funny. So the biggest resistors. But it really is all around. If people don't see an individual motivator for themselves for the change, all the directive for the company can go out. And again, kudos for the leaders who are saying that, but don't leave your people hanging. There's a lot that you can do in between just a, top down directive versus, hey, let's actually inspire change and make it work for individuals and for the organization. And you can do it
And
so quickly.
yeah, and I think I'm glad you brought up that third bucket because I mean, obviously, I think yesterday, the day before, it's all this, Amazon laying off and so laying off, and I think everybody's got this massive fear. But I do think, in what you validated is it it's gonna make people do more things and maybe more exciting things. The mundane stuff is gone. Or like I was talking to somebody yesterday about consulting and like, consulting's dead. No, it's not. It's the components of just getting to the answer a little faster with better work products. But you still need smart people to interpret the outputs and, to your point, then implement them and follow through and all of those things. I think we're validated and kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah, I know. I agree with you 100%. I mean, what it's going to do is change. I don't think consulting is dead either. I just think we need creativity. We need big thinkers. We still need the change agents who are like, I'm going to go out there and look at the unknown because there's a lot more unknowns than I've ever seen in my lifetime, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everything is changing. And in the times of change, if you look at human history, the things that have really gotten us through are things like creativity, innovation, coaching. It's why you're seeing these types of skill sets emerge because they're actually kind of leaving behind some of the fear-based thinking and stepping into like, hey, we already have a lot of tools in our own human operating system that can move us forward. And to tie it back to what you were saying about consulting, it's about being able to think further, deeper without having to communicate everything that's going on in your brain. Like, look, I'm a visionary. So I see connections that people are like, I do not know what you're saying. So I can augment with AI and say, hey, I see this pattern. Here's what's coming out. And all of a sudden I have a much clearer way to communicate with another human and see, how they're thinking. So it really actually improves communication is the things that I'm seeing is it's not about getting rid of people. Some
I
people
agree.
will get rid of, but I also see probably in my lifetime the biggest event for innovation and create job creation that has been And like I said, in my professional career, it has not been around like it is right now.
Yeah, and disruption, I think, comes as a component of that, right? And we talk about. I was talking to somebody yesterday too about the big disruptors in the world of Airbnb and Uber and those types of things. I think there's an opportunity, along this line. Of, this is clearly a big disruptor, but many disruptors as well, just to do things differently.
Yeah, many. And it's funny that you said that because we're seeing this change where for a long time, companies have worked on, like I would say, the almost industrial revolution era playbook, right? Where we had stability, what the goal was stability and productivity. And it was because we had a known outcome. So we really looked very micro at our workflows, standardization, very linear thinking. Well, all of a sudden, we're building a bridge to, we don't know, a destination unknown. So those skills that got us there, we have to use and integrate, but we also have to let some of them dissolve because standardization and processes and complete risk aversion is it's just no longer a reality. So the disruptors, the ones that, I mean, there are some cool stuff going on there in biosciences and healthcare, in just technology changes, moving from having to come to a screen out. There's a lot of inventing that is going on. And the leaders in the companies that are standing out are the ones that we like to say human first, AI forward. So they're augmenting with AI, but they're actually doing what, you know, Uber did back in the day, right? Like where they're taking a core human problem and they're looking for new creative solutions to solve it. But it's got to be real, it's got to be something that's valuable to humanity. Yes, we need more automated email marketing, but at the same time, too, is there a way that we can start getting, for instance, in sales, is there a way we can automate some of the administrative tasks so that salespeople can spend time doing what they do best, which is talking to another human being, right? Discovering more of the nuances of the complexity of the problem that the customer says. Like that's where I really think AI is going to propel the human race forward or the human species forward is by looking at what are human problems that we get to go back to the skill to allow us to go back to the skills that make us human and connect us and do the things that bring us a whole lot more joy.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. So, kind of shifting to taking a little further now. So, you talked about I understand what it is you're doing. So what? Maybe two questions. What's your ideal customer look like if there is one, and how are you, quote unquote, attracting them to come and talk to you? And maybe the third one becomes, what's the competition out there like for you?
Um, so to start off, the ideal client for us is growth minded leaders. So we're not looking for people who are like, I've been doing my job very well and I'm very stable and I want to learn this AI thing. Like, there's plenty of people who are out there to teach the technology. We are really working with leaders and teams and boards that are like, hey, I see this change happening and I understand that it's not only for me or an employee, that it's actually how the organization is shifting. So typically we see anywhere from 100 million up to large organizations where we work within the organizations, but it's around teams who want to make a shift together, who are like, hey, maybe we have a team that are all great people, but they're just not gelling together. How do we use AI to have them actually start transforming and turning, you know, I would say stuck teams into right energizing teams that are working together. We also work with a lot of leaders who are looking for cultural changes. They're like, we know AI is going to make us change anyways. We want to actually start shifting the organization as well to be more values based. Those are our ideal clients, and we work everywhere with consulting companies. With professional services teams as well as small companies, lots of healthcare companies, but it's really more about who the change is. Lots of financial services, healthcare, and then surprisingly, manufacturing is. They kind of were slower on the tech side in the past, but are like, wait a minute, like we have a very human-based organization of services. How can we support them? So those are our ideal clients. How we're getting the clients is through, I mean, we grew up in the time of AI, right? So we have all sorts of ways that we are automating tasks. I have a podcast like you. We're meeting, we work in what we call a collective. So we're often meeting with partners. In addition, we do a lot of research. I talk to probably 4 to 6 different executives from industries. So because we're really looking at the future of work and what that looks like. So through that, as well as just word of mouth, right? So it's looking for the change agents who want to get there. And then what was your last question
No, that
was?
was, I mean, pretty much just kind of rounding out as far as just, how you're going after it. And so talk about, so you guys have been in business for shortish amount of time.
Mhm.
Uh, what's the proudest moment to date? What's been the proudest thing you've done in the last couple of years?
I have to say, I have a very big heart for healthcare. Okay, so when you talk to, we had one of our clients was an ER doctor who was so frustrated with he's actually assistant vice chair, and when he came to us, he was like, "I'm almost ready to like leave healthcare because there's so much administrative work, right? With all the scaling of hospitals, with everything, what's happened is that you've gotten people who are caretakers and healers spending 70% of their time on administrative tasks, right? So probably the proudest moment I had was working with a team of ER doctors at a hospital system to actually help them change their thinking to get reconnected with what brings them purpose and to use AI to automate a lot of their tasks. Like scheduling is a huge problem for hospitals. There's huge software, but it's not necessarily there, or not necessarily great, or something that's really easy. It doesn't move at the same schedule people
Mhm.
move. A lot of the systems. Getting automated stuff for these doctors who, to have a doctor who, for me, I was like, you're an ER doctor. You have the most altruistic job there is. You're saving lives daily. And to hear that really saddened me. So I would say my proudest moment in the last couple of years has really been making a shift to get a doctor reignited with the research and the care that he really cares about, and at the same time changing a team's ability to actually spend more time caring with patients and understand that you don't need this humongous shift like you used to with technology. You don't need to go spend $300 billion to get drastic change for the people if you start teaching individuals how to solve their own problems with AI.
And that's a really good point. Is again in some conversations with folks is I think there's this perception of, I grew up in the ERP implementation range, which was a year, big projects, millions of dollars. I think people have this feeling that implementing AI is the same, and I think it's a
It's
massive
not.
misconception. It is, I mean, if we're doing it right, we're doing it at the fraction of a cost of a full-time employee to be taking on what you said earlier, these mundane tasks and things like that. It seems like we've got to change this thinking.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up because this is one of the struggles, right? I talked about the actual individual fears already, but one of the struggles with companies is that we've been trained, and hey, I've been in tech for 25 years, so I've been a leader. I'm going to take the accountability. So sorry to all of you organizations that we taught you had to spend huge money on an ERP system. That's what we needed to get us to the infrastructure of where we are at today. But today, like, I think any leader should feel very comfortable spending $50,000 to get some quick training and get some quick implementations. $100,000, easy peasy to train multiple people to get there. If you're talking to an organization that's telling you to spend another, you're going to have to implement 200 billion dollars, whatever. I'm just going to give a huge number in an ERP system. I would recommend against it. That's like going the same way where you're adding something to your tech stack. But the truth is, and we're seeing it all over the place, is organizations actually have to shift and get more clear on what's the right problem to solve. And that doesn't happen by introducing a huge ERP system. It just doesn't
Mm-hmm.
anymore, right? There's so much data and cleanup to be done. I promise your tech people will have work for the next 3 years if the business starts looking at, wait a minute, what are actual problems that we want to solve? Why are we here? What's the point of our organization? So I recommend people, right? Like, yes, you're not going to be able to get it for $5,000, but you want to get productivity and efficiency and money. Start with where you're at to move you to where you want to go. And that can be easily $100,000, not $200 million.
Yeah, no, and completely aligned again. And so you did talk about this and your day-to-day activities and that you got your company has embraced your own day-to-day AI functions, but just maybe talk about a day in the life of Laurie, and maybe it goes from how do you balance your day, fitting in your workout, and if you do, but it's like it's also for leaders and entrepreneurs who are coming into this world. It's like, what does it look like?
Yeah. So we have around 10 people, and we use special people for video, for making marketing and our podcasting and editing our podcasting. I have other partners that I work with to do automated emails. I do a lot of specific stuff through LinkedIn, which is great because it helps me find the right people to do research with, people to really ask a lot of questions. And I'll share with you, a lot of it is the curious mindset right now. If I want to make a difference and help humanity with AI, it's like I can't assume I know anything. So I get up, I look at what has gone out automatically. I respond to the people who have responded or shown interest. I also do a lot of community check-ins. So one of the things that is cool about AI is because you can free up some of your time, you get to spend it on areas that work, that really interest you much more than just getting the work done. So I do spend time checking the communities, but then I go through my normal day. I use AI for everything. I use it when I'm on with clients. I use it when I'm teaching clients. We do a lot of workshops and training sessions of, again, getting leaders to think differently and bring their teams along, upskill their teams. And so I'm using, and we're tech agnostic. So I use all of the big large language models. I do have some proprietary systems that I use because it just helps with, Canva for design. I have an idea of this, help me generate it. Loomly for scheduling, right? Like there is stuff that I use, but I'm bouncing in and out of systems, but it's a whole lot less time of spending in systems because if I don't know how to do something, I get on a LLM and I say, hey, can you automate this for me? It's causing me pain. Done. And I don't code. I can code, but I haven't actually coded in years, even though I've led development teams. And you don't have to anymore. You don't have to know how the tech works. You just have to put the problems in and say, I don't know this. Explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old. Okay, now do the code for me. And there's all the LLMs have different things that they're good at. Like Claude's great for coding. Gemini's great for deep research. Chat GPT, I feel like, is the easiest, I don't know, the most friendly, but it's really good. So yeah. Does that give you some
No,
insight?
that's total insight. And for me, I've become one of the giant consumers of Gamma. So it's like I put it in and it gives you these presentations, and then I even with that, I used to take it and then try and edit it in PowerPoint. And I'm like, why am I doing this? I just now present straight out of Gamma in the web app, and everybody's like, this looks phenomenal. So it's just incredible how much even 6 months ago, I was taking a half a day to do a presentation. It takes me as long as it takes me to type in the prompt to do a presentation.
Let's give this to the audience. It's really clear. You don't have to learn how to put in a prompt, right? The beautiful thing about where we're at with the technology today is you can say, gosh, I'm really struggling with communicating and making my AI training tangible for people who aren't familiar with the technology. Can you help give me some ideas? And it will literally ask you questions and lead you through it. So I just want everyone listening to remember that, right? This doesn't have to be hard and complex. Where the technology is today is it can solve it all in the back end. And you just have to mostly almost use how you're thinking in your brain, give your train of thought to interact with a chatbot. And then the great thing is that They're non-judgmental, which humans we could all learn something from the human side, and they have no emotion. So like they don't care if you ask the same question 20 times. You just keep asking it till I mean, I just was creating an image this morning and I was like, nope, you're missing the mark. Do it again.
Yeah.
And it is really like that. Like, nope, don't like it. Do it again. And I think that that's a misconception that people have that it will be complex like technology was the last 25 years. And it's not, it's just simple. I don't like that. Do it again.
And as you say, they don't get offended, and you don't have an HR issue. Right? Just yeah, and it's interesting you say that too, because the other one for the audience is too is this morning I was trying to solve a problem for somebody, and I was like trying to show what a good website looks like compared to a bad one, and I actually asked ChatGPT to write me a prompt for a website design tool for a functioning website, and it gave me, and I did it, and I put it in, and all of that took me about 10 minutes, and now I can show this person this is what a good functioning website looks like. So the horizon is endless. It's like there's just so many things that you can do.
You sparked something for me. So yesterday I was talking, I was having a lunch meeting with someone, and during that conversation, it was a woman who had a meeting with her boss's boss. And there were some, difficult conversations that she had wanted to have. So we and DeepHumanX, we use a lot of the human operating system. So we look at what are the human tools, how does the brain work, and how do we, our relevance model I spoke about is brain based, so it can work in any situation. So I literally had during the lunch meeting, we were still eating, and I was like, no, put this in there. I'm like, speak this into ChatGPT and say, what is your context? What do you value? What are some assumptions you might have? And then ask what human patterns, which is our 4 steps of our model, you might be running so you can see. And during literally a 5-minute conversation, we helped her see what pattern she runs, like how she shows up, so that from her own like being accountable for her own energy, and then also how she might be interacting with her boss in ways. And then we said, that came up, she learned a lot. She was literally like, she looked at me like, how does it know this about me? And I'm like, because humans have patterns. Like we think we're so original. Our content is all original, but we actually operate with very similar patterns. And your nervous system, like my nervous system, has operating patterns. And so we were able to, in literally like a 10-minute conversation, get her prepped for a meeting that had been causing her stress for the last 3 days. Okay. Right? Because she's like, oh, I can own that I'm doing that. And then I get to choose, do I continue or not? So that's the thing, is you can use it for, if I always just tell people any point you're having pain, right? Just be like, I don't know what to do about this.
Yeah, no, I love that. So in the last couple of minutes we have left, is somebody, you're obviously entrepreneurial and things like that, somebody watching this that says, I'm considering starting a business, doesn't matter what it is, 2, 3 key words of wisdom, lessons learned, things to focus on or things to stay away from. What would you suggest?
My suggestion would be that when you're looking to start a business in the time of rapid change like we're in, you need to anchor in your purpose. So you need to anchor and understand what are the things that you do naturally, what are the things that are energizing for you, and what are the things that bring you joy. Those things that that you time kind of dissolves and you end up doing anyways, whether it's at work, at home. And you got to get clear on that, because in the time of change, you might get very clear on a product and can be completely disrupted by something that comes out, right? And I mean, stuff's coming out fast. So by anchoring in like what you want to do with your business, it will give you a life raft to deal with any kind of change. So that would be my biggest advice, is if you haven't in a long time, go back and remember, what you wanted to do as a kid. Remember what you want to, look back at your life and say, what do I consider success when I'm, 90, looking back at my life, and make sure that whatever you're working on, that there's some flavor of that, because that will give you the toughness, the grittiness, the, propel you to go when you face all sorts of challenges when you're building a business. I mean, it is not easy. There's a reason why everybody doesn't do it, right? But can be really, really rewarding when you're clear on what you're bringing to the table versus just trying to make money, because that's the ante into the game these days. We all want to make money. We all want productivity and efficiency. So don't just think that you're revolutionizing that, right? It really is around how do you assume that and then bring something that could move people forward.
I love it. I love it. And I really appreciate this time. I thought it was very enlightening. I think you guys are onto something. And I look forward to following and making, seeing the success of how you're doing. So, Laurie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.